I actually am blessed to have the pleasure now of introducing our guest speaker. This young lady has committed the last, 25 or more years of her life to this work. And she brings it to us today, so graciously brings it to us today. I present Jocelyn Clegg. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist operating in a private practice in the Sherman Oaks area here in California. Jocelyn most enjoys working with women across the lifespan. So from beginning to end, she focuses on women. Yes, she helps us to discover our best selves. We're so interested in that today. She helps us she challenges us to confront, very good, to confront limiting beliefs that so often get in our way. We were told when we were little that good little girls are seen and not heard. Good little girls sit and be quiet. Good little girls do this and that and that and this. She challenges us to take a look at those beliefs and perhaps turn them around, spin them around on their heads, and find the good in them and get rid of that which isn't working for us. And she offers support and guidance as we go along this journey. Her clients are blessed indeed. You see, Jocelyn isn't just coming to this work out of the theories that she learned in the classroom, but she actually has worked with children and adolescents and families in many different capacities throughout her 25 years in this career. So this isn't just theory. She's got practice to back up everything she says. She settled into private practice 8 years ago. So on an individual basis, she understands this really well. She is a graduate, well-trained from Boston College and from UC San Diego. She is married and she has 2 adult daughters, one who just graduated from Tulane University in Louisiana, and the other one is a freshman at the University of California, Berkeley. So Jocelyn surely has figured out how to get from the East Coast to the West Coast in the drop of a hat. Ladies, please let us give a warm, lifelong learning Women's Forum blessing to our friend, our presenter, Jocelyn Clegg.
The best introduction I could have asked for, especially being called young. Thank you, Dean Williams. I really appreciated that. And very strange to hear it said out loud that I have 2 adult daughters. Because I'm so young, it's hard to imagine that that's possible, but indeed it is. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to get started because I have a lot of material to go over. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So today, Vanessa asked me a couple weeks ago if I would present and gave me the opportunity to choose the topic. And as it's the new year, as she mentioned, I really like the idea of intention setting at the beginning of the new year. And so I wanted to have a talk that would help us in our intention setting. And it brought to mind the newer study of positive psychology, which is all about how to increase our happiness, motivation, and energy. So we'll be doing a couple of activities today that are going to help us to set some intentions around that and to help us increase our happiness. So we're just going to get started. Let's see. Okay. Whoa. There we go. So the study of happiness has been going on for thousands of years. If you look up quotes on happiness, you're going to find quotes from the ancient philosophers, and what they have been studying and what they decided and what they wrote down thousands of years ago is still proving to be true today. And now we're using science to back it up. I included a few of these quotes here just to get us started. I'm just going to read them really quickly and we'll get going. Remember this: very little is needed to make a happy life. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. That's by the Buddha. The secret of happiness, you see, is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. Socrates. The more man meditates upon good thoughts, the better will be his work, his world, and the world at large. Sorry, my chat is interfering with my. People are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Abraham Lincoln. So all of these speak to the science that I'm going to be discussing with you guys today. And I find it fascinating that we're going back thousands of years and using science to help prove what they already knew 1,000 years ago. Okay, so what is, first, we're going to just start with a little exercise. Just take a couple minutes. Those of you who have paper, you can jot it down. Those of you who don't, you can just think about it. But I would like everybody to start by thinking about the last time, the most recent time they remember being happy. That emotion, I just want you to spend a moment to connect with the feeling of happiness. What were you doing? Where were you? Who were you with? An important element is what sensory experiences you were having. What was the temperature? Was it loud? Was it quiet? What else was going on around you? So just take a moment. We're going to come back to that later, but I just kind of want you to pull that up as we go forward so that that's kind of in your mindset of something that we're trying to get to, is that feeling of happiness. I'll just give you a second or two to do that. So positive psychology is really the study of what we're doing right. It's strength-based, as opposed to other psychologies that look back at our past traumas and our families of origin and what's gone wrong and those kinds of things. Positive psychology is really looking forward. It's using what we already are good at, figuring out how to make the most of it and how to use it to optimize our life and optimize our experiences and optimize our emotions and move forward. So it's very non-threatening in that way, because we're not going to dig really deep into your past life and your past traumas, like I said, but we're really going to say, what's good? What do you have? What are your strengths? And how do we use those to move us forward? And it's very future oriented. So it's very focused on goals and the strengths you already have. I've said strengths about 5 times now, because that's really what it's based on, is the strengths, and helping everyone see that we all have them. They're just buried sometimes underneath a bunch of, baloney and stories that we've been telling ourselves for many years. But we have them. And so it's about uncovering those so that we can move forward. So instead of asking what's wrong, it's what is valuable and how can I achieve this? What am I already doing right? And how can I do more of that? So that's the study of positive psychology. And it's really taking off across the country. Some of the biggest universities have full courses. Yale and Stanford come to mind for sure, have very famous courses now on happiness, the science of happiness, based on a lot of these theories. So first we have to identify what is happiness. The definition of happiness is the experience of positive emotions while engaging in pleasurable activities. So I think it's important to also note what are some of those other positive emotions, because sometimes we hold on to one idea of happy and we're not noticing that gratitude and comfort and pleasure are all a part of happiness. And so we're not fully appreciating some of the other emotions that we might be having that really lead to a happy life. So I wrote a couple down, and I'm wondering if anybody can come up with a few others that are pleasurable emotions, positive pleasurable emotions. Someone wrote a feeling of peace, elated. And so you see there's a spectrum also, because we're comfort and elation. Those are on 2 sides of the spectrum, but they both absolutely calm, homeostasis, contentment. Great job. Joy, equilibrium. You guys are on it. Passion. So there's a lot of them. And I love the idea of writing these down for yourself in a journal or somewhere, just so that you can reflect on the wide breadth of positive emotions that we have and that we experience. And the more you can focus on them, and the more that you can call them up, the more you're going to notice them in your day-to-day life. You're going to be like, oh, that was a feeling of calm I've been having. Oh, that was hope that I just experienced. We have more stimulation. That's a great one. Love, of course, great. Appreciation. So these are all excellent. And that's a really good activity when you're feeling kind of down in the dumps and frustrated, is just to sit down and write down some of these feelings, these positive feelings. We have excitement, connection, and we're going to talk about a bunch of these more, and how to bring them up and bringing into the forefront our happiness. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Okay, so in case, obviously you're all motivated to be happier, or you want to be here today, but just in case you need a little bit more motivation, I'm going to go over some facts about happiness to bring it home. So happiness is influenced definitely by our personality type and our genetics. So there is some people are more predisposed to be happier, than others. That's the truth, but it doesn't mean that those who aren't can't learn to be happier, which is what we're going to talk about today. Social connections increase our happiness. Money only matters to a certain point. And what that means is that this has been very well studied and proven, that once you're able to provide for your basic necessities, keep your family safe and secure, that after that point, and that obviously that number differs across the country and across the world, but once you're able to do that, any more money does not equate with more happiness. And that, I think, is a really important thing for all of us to remember, especially here in Los Angeles, where I think everyone's thinking more all the time. But once you have that level of security, it is not proven to make you any happier. Happiness leads to career success. And I think what this means is that when you're happier, you're more motivated, you have more self-esteem, you're better at self-advocacy, and all of those things are going to help you to be more successful in your career and in other activities that you pursue. There is a proven linear relationship between religious involvement and happiness. So the more regular your religious or spiritual practices, the happier people report being. And I think there's a lot of reasons, and I'm sure all of you can absolutely connect with that, but it has to do with connection, which was mentioned in the chat, ritual, a sense of purpose, a higher power. All of those kinds of things lead to a sense of happiness, and your religious involvement is going to help to make that a regular part of your life. Happier people are better citizens. What that means is they're more civically involved, they vote more, they volunteer more, they're overall more engaged in their communities. And another important thing, which we're going to talk a lot about today, is that our day-to-day experiences really matter. So life happens, right? And terrible things happen to us. There's illnesses and loss and transitions and all sorts of things. But the day-to-day, the way that we organize our day-to-day life in the midst of all of that, which we are all still going through a humongous, worldwide event right now, but the way that we organize our day-to-day experiences really has a significant impact on our happiness. And that's a really important thing to remember, because those are things that we have control over. There's so much that we don't have control over, and it's easy to sort of give up and just say, well, this is the way it is. But the truth is, we absolutely can control a whole lot of things in our life that will lead to a happier life. Okay, a couple more facts about happiness. Happier people have lower blood pressure, have higher immunity, they get sick less often, there's less stress hormones, they're more socially connected, they sleep better, which means that they're falling asleep better, staying asleep longer, and sleep is a humongous component to leading a happier life, because sleep also in and of itself leads to lower blood pressure, higher immunity, less stress hormones. So there's a big interconnection there that's really important. And happier people live longer, and they don't only live longer, but they live better. So they're living a happier, more higher quality life, which I think is something we all want. So I think you have all bought in now that you've seen those things. Okay, So where do we start? And we're going to go over all of these things today, hopefully. So it starts with intentions, and you guys have all set an intention today by just being here. So that's a really important thing. Commitment. It's just like anything else in your life, whether it's exercise or work or nutrition. It takes commitment. It's not going to be something like, oh, I went to a class on happiness and so now I'm happier. You're going to have to actually commit to making changes in your life. It's going to involve a lot of awareness about your thought processes that are getting into your way and the things that you can change. Like I said, daily practice and behavior change. And then mindset shifts, which is where we're going to start right now in talking about how we can identify our mindset and how we can start to make some shifts that will make a significant difference for us. Okay. All right. Mindset. So here's some meat. A woman named Carol Dweck, who some of you may have heard of, wrote a book titled Mindset. So I'm going to try to share the whole book with you in 3 slides, which we know is not possible. I recommend the book. Parts of it are dry, but other parts of it, she uses lots of examples of people that we know to help us understand and really conceptualize what she's talking about. And it's a really, it's a great book in that way. So she is proposing, and it has been very well supported, that there are 2 mindsets, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. The growth mindset is one that believes that change is possible, that we are not stuck, that we are able to work hard and persevere and make something of our situation, of our lives. We don't just have to take what's handed to us, and we can dig in and make a difference. And with that belief system comes the positive feelings of hope, excitement, determination, and a lot of the other ones that you guys mentioned earlier. And so obviously that is going to lead you to a happier life because you have a mindset that is supporting positive emotions. The other mindset is a fixed mindset, and people with a fixed mindset tend to believe that change is not possible. They just accept that this is who I am. This is where I am in life. This is who I'll always be. I'm not good at that, so why should I try? Nothing's ever going to get better. And that leads to feelings of resignation, defeat, victimization, feeling victimized. And obviously those are moving in the opposite direction of happiness. And some people have a mixture of the 2. I would say probably most people do. They have a growth mindset maybe in one area of their life and a fixed mindset in another area of their life. And so that's just another thing to pay attention to and try to be aware of. So where does our mindset come from? It comes from our collection of life experiences, including genetics. So it does come back to that idea of some people are predisposed. Absolutely, that has been proven to a more positive mindset. But again, it doesn't mean you're stuck there. And the experiences of our families before us. So our stories that we tell ourselves often come from the stories that our families tell us. So if we're being raised in a family that tells us that we're not good, or that this is it, or that they're not good, or this is our place in life and we just have to accept it, versus, you know, work hard, try hard, you can be more, you're going to grow up with a completely different mindset depending on what family you came from. So some people are going to have an advantage of having come from a family that has supported a growth mindset. That doesn't mean that by this point in your life, wherever that may be, that you can't work at changing your mindset. And that's a really important thing to remember. So the stories we were told, again, not just about ourselves and our family, but about everyone. The messages that people, when you're watching the news, when you're watching television shows, when you're out in the world, what are the things, what are the commentary, the running commentary that you have heard from the people around you and in your life, and that you have told yourself about the homeless people on the street? What message comes to your mind about them? And also, you know, about when you're watching the Olympics, what kinds of messages are coming to your mind? Those are, paying attention to those messages is what's going to help you to better understand where your mindset is and where some growth is possible. Obviously, our experiences in the world, the successes and failures that we've had and how we've managed them, how we understand our experiences. So what this means is that, you know, there's successful people out there does not mean that every successful, and obviously that's a subjective term, that every successful person has a growth mindset. Maybe they were born into a wealthy family and pushed into the family business, and that's what they're doing. And so by all accounts, they're successful. But they also believe that they're stuck and they have no choices, and they may not be living a happy and fulfilled life, versus somebody who's suffered many failures but keeps getting back up and keeps having a sense of hope that something will be different the next time, and they keep learning from every mistake. And by the outside world, they see more of a failure, but they're living a much happier life than that other person. So we have to be careful about our ideas about success and failure and how we understand them. And lastly, our relationship to choice. And the belief that we have a choice. And the truth is, we always have a choice. And what we have a choice about is changes from situation to situation. There's a lot of things, a lot of choices that have been taken away from us recently in the past 2 years, but how we embraced that was our choice. So there's where we had a choice. We could learn how to do Zoom, or we could say, screw this, and excuse my language, and sit alone in our room and feel in our house and be isolated, or we could find a way to connect with the world. That's a choice that we had. And luckily, most of you have made a very good choice in that regard. So our relationship to choice and asking yourself, what choices do I have, is a really valuable thing anytime that you're feeling stuck, is to pause and to say, what choice do I have? And another really helpful thing that I encourage a lot of my clients to pause and ask is, how else can I think about this? So when you're feeling stuck, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, how else can you think about it that might tend towards more of a growth mindset and some of those positive emotions? Okay. Now what? All right. I tend to get ahead of myself with my slides, so sometimes I talk about it before the slide comes up. All right, we just talked about the awareness, paying attention to the stories you tell yourself, which will help you to determine your mindset. Catch yourself in the fixed stories. So really, awareness is everything. I highlight awareness with every single one of my clients, from my young 10-year-old clients all the way through the lifespan, of just paying attention and building into your life, your day-to-day life, a way to be accountable to that awareness. I personally like to journal every morning. It helps me to just sort of purge what are those thoughts in my head and take a closer look at them. That doesn't work for everybody, but a moment to just pause throughout the day, a couple moments to pause throughout the day and just check in. What am I feeling? And what are my thoughts associated with those feelings? And is there another way for me to think about this that might lead me to feel differently? And realize, and there's where the choice is that you do have a choice about how you're thinking and understanding the events in your life. Language is very important part of all of this. And this is another thing I would say to work at increasing your awareness of. So what is the language that you're using when you're talking about yourself, either to yourself or others, and when you're talking about the other people in your life? I would encourage you to catch yourself and try to avoid words like never and always, because hardly anything is never and always. And those are fixed mindset words. Practice kindness and patience with yourself. So when you haven't accomplished something yet and you're feeling frustrated and annoyed with yourself, just add a yet to the end of the sentence. I haven't done it yet. So there still is a possibility. We're still forward thinking. We're still thinking positively about this yet. And it feels so different. The comment to yourself, I haven't gotten my promotion yet. Those two sentences elicit such different emotions in us, and it's just one word. And another trick is switching but to and. So I made a great dinner, but the dessert was overbaked. I chose something very safe to bring up. Okay, as soon as you say but, the great dinner part of that sentence is gone. And now we're only thinking about the dessert that wasn't great. But the truth is, you made a great dinner and the dessert was overcooked. So both things coexist, and it's such a simple thing to change. And I'm still catching myself constantly in this, and it makes all the difference when you're arguing with a partner. I love you, but why can't you ever blah, 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 right? The I love you's gone. It's lost. It's gone. I love you, and I would love it if you could help out more in the kitchen, whatever. It makes all the difference in the world. So just that one change is really going to impact you. It works really well when you're speaking with your children as well. Oh, someone just wrote that. Yes, especially for kids. Exactly. 2 people just wrote that. Okay, wait, I'm not ready to go forward. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions about mindset? Because we're going to go into an activity right now. But I want you to keep in mind that stuff. Anything? Okay, we're going to keep moving because I'm looking at the clock. Okay. All right. So this is an activity that I do often with my clients to help them set intentions and focus, because sometimes there's just too much and they don't know where to start. And so this really helps them to sort of narrow down where to start and then build on that. So I have listed, I think, 10 life domains here. I'll read them out. And what I would like each of you to do is to rate your satisfaction currently today, right now in this moment, your satisfaction with each of these life domains on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being not satisfied at all, and 10 being highly satisfied. So I'll read them down and just write down the numbers. I do want you to be able to recall which one has the lowest satisfaction. So if you need to write the initials down for each one. Some of them might or might not apply to you. And if there's a different life domain that is a big part of your life, you can add that in. So these aren't set in stone. You can wiggle around. These are just the ones that I could come up with that I think are most pertinent to everybody. Okay, money and finance, career and work, health and fitness, fun and recreation, environment, community, family and friends, partner and love, growth and learning, and spirituality. I wrote all these notes down and I haven't looked at them once. So hopefully I haven't forgotten to tell you a lot of important things. Okay, so just take a minute and do that. Next, if everybody has done that, what I want you to do now is we're going to be thinking about our values, because our values and what we stand for are what are important to us are a huge component of what makes us happy. And we need to be calling on those values regularly in order to keep our happiness quotient high. So just jot down, bullet point, what's important to you in life? What is your life's purpose? And these can be singular words or fragmented sentences, it doesn't matter. What do you enjoy doing? So what activities, what places are you? When do you feel satisfied and fulfilled? And so some examples I wrote down that just came to my mind, and I would love it if other people would add some in the chat, because I think that would help get everybody else thinking about it. Some examples I wrote down to answer these questions are creativity, honesty, independence, health, achievement, connection, service, power, pleasure, inspiration, morality, friendship, fun, community. So just write down as many: nature, family, adventure, truth, integrity. These are great. Authenticity. We're going to need to have at least 5, and we're going to narrow them down in a minute to 5, but it's great to write down as many as you can right now. Intimacy, humor, I like that. That's a good one. Transparency. All right, you guys, these are excellent. Play, fun, health, balance, groundedness. Okay, these are amazing. Okay. Honesty, perfect. All right, so now we're going to bring these 2 things together. I want you to identify the life domain that needs the most attention. So that would be the life domain with the lowest satisfaction number. So write that out somewhere. And then I want you to look at your list of core values and identify 5 that may pertain to that life domain. And I'm going to walk you through, I did this myself, and I'm going to walk you through what it looks like so that you'll have an example of how to do this. So identify, so you can just circle the 5 core values that pertain to that life domain. And we're going to ask ourselves some important questions that will help us come up with an intention and a really practical, some practical steps that you can take towards your own happiness today. So incorporating these values, so looking at those 2 things together, the life domain that needs attention and the core values that you have, what do you want to change in this life domain? Next, what do you need to make this change happen? And this can be practical things like more time, more money, more cooperation from my family. It can be, or it can be more internal processes, more confidence, more energy, more motivation. So it can be a combination of any of those things. And now, and like I said, I'm going to walk you through this process for myself, so you'll see how it works. Can you set a goal with those new awarenesses? So we just took a few moments to say, what needs attention in my life? What values are important to me? And how do I bring those 2 things together in order to set a goal for myself? All right, are you ready for my big reveal, guys? Okay, so surprise, surprise, it's the first of the year, and I chose health and fitness. Okay, so health and fitness was the life domain that needed the most attention. What are the values that are important to me that can relate to this? Are connection, growth, health, commitment, fun, and adventure. What do I want to change? So this sentence can start with I want. I want to feel more confident in my relationship to my health and fitness. What do I need in order for this change to happen? I need to shift my mindset away from, again, I can't see my whole, oh, I can move myself, sorry, from the chore, there we go, the chore of health and fitness, and towards embracing the possibility of connection, growth, and fun as a part of my health and fitness routine. So this is a mindset shift, you know, for those of us, and I'm sure I'm not alone, who feel like exercise and anything in that regard is a chore and something that has to be done and checked off the list. I, when looking at my values, realized if I can incorporate some of these values into my health and fitness goals, I'm going to shift my mindset around it. So what are my intentions? I will. So intentions should always start with a positive beginning. Never what you don't want. I did say never, and this time I actually mean never. Never what you don't want, always what you do want. So I will take the time I need to learn more about my body and needs. So that's the growth and learning value. I will honor and commit to these needs, commitment. I will find fun ways to stay active while incorporating nature and learning into my journey. So that's connection, fun, and adventure. Okay, that's beautiful, right? That's very idealistic. And now you want to come up with something concrete. So what are you going to do to help realize that beautiful idealistic goal? I will hike with a friend at least once a week. That's totally doable, and it achieves everything that I just said, other than the learning. I will read and research more about my youthful menopause, nutrition, and fitness for women my age. So I'm noticing changes as I approach this next life stage of my own, and I'm still trying to fit into the mindset of a younger self, and it's not working as well. So I'm realizing I need to take some time to really learn more about myself and what's going on. So I'm making a commitment to do that. Okay, so that's what that looks like. I don't know if anybody feels like sharing, but if anybody feels like sharing any one part of an I will statement, that would be amazing, because I think we can inspire each other so much more easily than if we get stuck in our heads and we hear what other women have to say. So I'll give you a moment to share, but no pressure, you don't have to. But any I will statements that came up for people, intentions that feel helpful to share with the group? Oh, I like it. I will pray and meditate 1 hour each morning. Okay, so I'm guessing that her spirituality, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I'm guessing her spirituality life domain might have been one that she wanted to give more attention to. And that's, again, very doable.
I can share.
Great.
So my area that I want to commit to is community, and the two values are groundedness and balance.
Great.
My I want statement is I want to teach my son the value of service through action and example.
I love it.
The shift needs for me to be from we have to embark on this big project to something that might be a baby step that's more accessible and easy to integrate at
I
first.
love that.
And then my I will is I will take the time to ask through our foster grandparent program and through our church about opportunities.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing the whole process there. And I loved your mindset shift from we do this a lot. I do this a lot, is you think big and it feels overwhelming and too much. And so you do nothing. And I think we all, especially as, really inspired and motivated women, but we get stuck in our own motivation. And so that's really a great idea. Baby steps are all that you need to make a difference. Okay,
Thank you. I think I was supposed to just share the last part. Sorry.
No.
I love
that you walked us through the whole process. Thank you. I will cook at least 3 times for the whole family to eat together. I will try to find a new fun activity each week. And somebody was complimenting, I love the commitment to yourself. Yes. So that's like the cooking 3 times a week. That could have her life domain could be family, it could be connection, it could be learning or health and fitness even, but that's a great goal that would work. I will add more fun and recreation in my life by setting an appointment with myself. Yes, that's the commitment to yourself. Wonderful. And as you can see, some of these can incorporate multiple life domains, which is a bonus. So if you have some that are both, a few needing attention, if there's a way to bring them in together, I mean, all the better, right? And I will find a new fun activity instead of try. Very affirming. Thank you, Julie. That's right. So again, paying attention to language. I love that you are hearing me. Thank you very much. So, and that's when I mentioned journaling earlier, another wonderful process, and we are going to talk about a few more things. I know we're getting, is when you journal, if you just journal sort of stream of consciousness, and then you go back and you read it with another pen to catch, that's a really great way to catch these mindset language obstacles. And you can catch the try as opposed to find, and those kind of wavering commitments to self, you'll find. Wonderful. Oh, and I was right. They were family, health, and food. Look at that. Okay. I know we're running low, and the next ones are just real quick, brief hacks. These are the when we talked about daily practices and daily tasks that you can do, these are the things that I'm talking about. And so I would encourage you to write them down and then figure out how each of them can relate to your own life. Like, what's one thing you can do in several of these different categories that relate to your own life. So the first one is consult your list. I didn't tell you about your list yet. So one thing I have my clients do that really gets them stuck or unstuck, but they struggle with it, is to write a list of 100 things that make them happy. And 100 is a lot, and you probably won't be able to do it in one setting, and that's okay, because the idea is I want you to keep thinking about it. I want you to go about your day-to-day life and be like, oh, that was, I felt happy. And then you get to go home and write that on your list. And then, so it's going to be a process that's going to increase your happiness. And then you're going to have this resource list of 100 things that make you happy. So on that day, when you don't know what to do and you're feeling stuck and unmotivated and no energy and you can go to this list and and there'll be small things and large things, it'll be trips to Europe and it'll be fresh flowers in your house. And you'll pick something off of this list that you can do today. That'll just be a tiny little boost and you don't have to feel so stuck. So that's the list. Exercise. Exercise, scientifically proven to increase and boost our moods. Endorphins are released. Even a 20-minute walk a day is going to make a difference. Absolutely 100% go outside. And I have outside later on. Connection. We've talked about this before. Happiness is absolutely contagious. These things have been scientifically studied and proven. Also, the fact that laughter reduces pain. So call up your funny friend, go to a comedy show, watch a funny movie. These things will boost your mood. Acts of service, and several people mentioned this in the chat. Absolutely, acts of service boost your mood. They get you to step outside of yourself. They give you a sense of purpose. You're giving back, and it can be small, as we were talking about. Outside, being outside in nature, even just your backyard, a walk around the block, it improves mood, memory, and focus. So especially in these days when we're working at home and we're on a computer all of the time and you're just like getting that kind of fog from that, just a simple, 5 minutes outside will help you come back and focus again, which increases your motivation, your energy, and then your happiness. If you have animals, there's also been proven a release of all of those happy chemicals in your brain when you're playing with your animals. Gratitude. I could have done an entire talk on gratitude, and it's just getting one line here because I think everybody has a good awareness of this, but taking a few minutes every day to say what you're grateful for. And I mean the little things and the big things. Like I'm grateful for the birds in my bird feeder out my kitchen window. And I'm grateful for my family's health. So it doesn't have to be, my family's health and the roof over my head. When I do this with kids, I always tell them, I don't want to hear about, the food on the table and your pets and your house, because I feel like that's become so cliche for kids when they're asked what they're grateful for. I want them to push themselves a little bit further to what else there is to be grateful for. And those things are important, absolutely. And we should be grateful for them. And there's more. Meditation and mindful moments, which we talked about before, just taking a moment to check in with yourself, reset your intentions if you're off track. How am I feeling? How can I think about this differently? How do I want to feel? And I wrote stop and smell the roses because that's a cliche, but also it has been proven that floral scents boost your mood. Fascinating. So there's a lot. So literally stop and smell the roses, and then maybe have some floral scented candles around or perfume or something like that, because it's been proven to help boost your mood. All right. Happiness pitfalls. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this because it's the negative side of it, but I will I have to say, just to help you with your awarenesses. Social comparison only separates us. And what we're wanting is more connection. The minute that you compare yourself to another person, you're saying I'm different than them, and you want to bring yourselves closer. So I'm not even going to get into social media and all of that. Yes, there we go. Check yourselves. Language, we already talked about that. Your inner critic, which feeds into the language piece, and how you talk to yourself, and pay attention. Procrastination and the mindset around procrastination, the idea that I won't be happy until, is a very big obstacle. And it just avoids the happiness you could be feeling today. Isolation, and then indulgence, overeating, drinking, shopping, any type of overindulgence that we feel like is a coping skill in the moment really is a happiness pitfall. Okay, this is it. Wrapping it all up. What you do day to day and how you think matters. You can think yourself happier. It takes a daily commitment and practice. Happiness is a choice. And I wrote to a point because I want to make sure that I address clinical depression. Clinical depression is real. Clinically depressed people who are not medicated and are not addressing the chemical imbalance, these things are not going to work for them. They might boost their moods, very briefly, and then and then the chemical imbalance will come back into play. So I want to make sure that I'm addressing that and not saying that all of these things will work for everyone. And lastly, it is very important to be kind and patient with yourself. This isn't always going to be easy. It won't work every time, but keep at it. And it's a daily practice and a daily commitment. And I think that might be it. It is. And there is my last quote. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. And I think I did it in time.
Fantastic. Thank you,
Everybody.
Jocelyn. I so appreciate all of your knowledge and experience and just the way that you share that with us in such a positive manner. And so you really do back up what you preach. That I appreciate that you address the things that are negative that we can work on, but it's appropriate to see that so we know what's ahead of us so that we can change to a growth mindset. So thank you so much. And thank you, ladies, for participating. It's not easy to be introspective and to put what's happening in your life on paper, and even more so, drop it in a chat or share it verbally with everyone to know what you're working on. So thank you for being a part of this community where it really is our goal for us to grow together and to support one another. So with the time that we have left, we do have some time for a Q&A. There's also so much more to learn when we hear from one another, and validation when someone else is thinking what we're thinking and wants to know more about that. I'll start with one question. I really appreciate how you shared about the question that we can ask ourselves: what choice do we have? And that just resounded with where we are living right now, and how we don't want to focus on the negative. When we start seeing positive things, we see more positive things. But I do want to bring it back to when we were going through the questions of numbering what is importance, or on a scale of 1 to 10, how well are we doing? And personally, I noticed that some of the things that I had traditionally felt very strong about, in these last 2 years, those numbers have come down. And the pandemic has really made us a shift in all of our lives, and it's affecting those things that you listed. And not to say, oh, it's the pandemic, I'll get better at it later. How would you suggest we walk that line between, this is really real, what's happening, that I can't see a lot of my friends in this community. Right. I can't be as active in my church as I once was. How do we stay positive in this in-between time and not be complacent, but also not beat ourselves up because we don't have what was once at our fingertips?
Right. It's an excellent question. And I love that you're noticing that there's a difference in your relationship to those life domains. And I think that really speaks to our need, and this you do not need to do on a daily basis, but I would still say on a regular basis, to do that check-in, to look at the life domains and to regularly sort of assess where you are so that you can say, what do I need to do? Because sometimes we start to feel that lack of energy and down in the dumps and apathy and all of those negative feelings, and we're not really able to identify why until you take the time to look at this list and say, oh, like 3 of these things are falling below number 5, and now I need to pay some attention to them. So I think that the act of that is really important. And these last 2 years, I can't even, my business is through the roof, which is not, it's great in some ways, but you know what I mean? Because people are really struggling with everything that you just said. There are so many, we're being told constantly what we can't do and being reminded what we can't do. And so it's really easy for us to fall into that as well, because it feels very defeating. And I think we want to take that moment to come back to ourselves. And if possible on a daily basis, and on a walk is a great, we can incorporate this stuff, be in nature, our minds are working better, and just ask ourselves these questions. So it's and I can't do this, and so those things are all true. All of the things that have been taken away from us and all of the feelings that we're having are real, and we still have choices, and there still is a way to connect. And what does that look like? People had to do this. And honestly, this pandemic has been such a demonstration of people's ability to do this, right? Because businesses had to stay afloat and they had to get creative. And we as human beings really are resilient, and figured out a way, right? All the gyms closed down and people had to figure out how to exercise, and they did. And now there's Zoom classes like crazy and all of these online resources that are available to us, and all of these, boot camps in the park and things like that. They didn't just throw up their arms and say, I can't go to the gym, so I can't exercise. So we can use that same example with the other things in our life, right? With our friends. I can't, and we've all done that. I know every single one of you has done that. I can't have this party, but I can go for a walk with a friend and still connect. So it's just pausing, I think, and I don't mean to say just, because I know it's not simple. But this is where the daily practice comes in. If you have a daily practice of checking in, it's going to be so much easier for you because that time is already there. But finding the time when you don't have it scheduled in and structured into your life is very difficult because we're draining our energy every day. We need to fill it back up every day so that we can have that thought process. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, thank you, Jocelyn. And I also wrote down that we all need to buy ourselves flowers because the floral scent is smooth. So I heard that. And if you've all heard that, then I support that. Absolutely.
I agree 100%. I love it. Fresh cut flowers. They are a game changer. And if you go to Trader Joe's, they're so reasonable and they have such a great variety. So I buy them every time I go.
Right.
Definitely.
And that's something that we can add to our list of 100 things that we're grateful for.
Exactly.
Do you recommend keeping that out, like in a space that you see? Or, I think a lot of us have
depending on who else might see it.
Yeah.
Depending on who else.
Not there to buy you flowers, but to share
that's okay too
with everyone around us. So yeah.
I would have it like in a journal that you have, that's out, and that you have ready access to. And if there's a few like quick ones, like the flowers and, a walk outside and things like that, and like the top 10 easy, quick highlights, absolutely post that somewhere where you're gonna, see it in your bathroom mirror and remember today I need to do one of these things. That would be a great little hack of, every day, each day I need to do at least one of these 10 things that I listed. Definitely.
And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dean Williams, who will close us out today.
And I too want to thank all the faculty and staff from Pepperdine University that joined us today. I thank you, Jocelyn, for all of the wonderful information. I've got 5 pages of notes here.
Yay,
5 pages of notes here. Thank you once again to Kathy and her family. And ladies, I will simply say, if you take 1 or 2 of the suggestions made in this presentation, you're going to have a much better day, a much better week, month, year. It's going to be a fantastic time for you. I trust and believe that. And so may God bless you. May he keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he bless you and your children and your children's children, your children's children's children, for generation after generation after generation. And may you have all the fruit of the Spirit in your life, especially happiness. God bless each and every one of you. Bye-bye.